We continue to preview the 2025 college football season. Our stop today is Caldwell, Idaho, as we get to visit with Mike Moroski heading into season 12 with the College of Idaho Yotes. Coach, it is a privilege, sir, to get to visit with you. And I mentioned to you just before we went on the air, I've listened to last year's video a number of times and watched that. So much wisdom that you bring to the table, and I appreciate you sharing that with us here on Midwest Sportsnet. We start talking about 2024 just to look back and set the stage for this season. 7-4 last year, and it seemed like things came in twos, at least from the win-loss record. You win two, you lose two, you win two, you win two, you lose two. You do win the season finale, a 3-point victory over Southern Oregon, which actually possibly kept them out of the playoffs at that point in time too. So again, another winning season, and you have 70 wins to your head coaching credit as well.
Yeah, 2024 was, by the way, great to be on. I was impressed with your whole operation too. Everything about Midwest sports and you, Joey, were fantastic. So it's a pleasure to be back on.
Thank you,
and
sir.
Really appreciate what you're doing for small college football, because I'm a believer in small college football and more, to be honest with you. So, but 2024 was probably disappointing by our standards, though we had some great wins that were, I think, showed who we are, but we also got exposed a little bit and didn't play our best football in spots. And I think early in the season we ran into Montana Western. Of course, they're a very, very good football team and very experienced. And I think I said this last year. I think every game's turned into a rivalry with our conference team. So it's really, really a lot of fun. I have the utmost respect for all the coaches, and certainly Coach Norse at Western. And they got us. They surprised us a little bit with their defensive front, and we did not play particularly sound and gave up some big plays. And I thought they did enough to us, which good teams can do. They just kind of got us on the run a little bit, and we were in a little bit of disarray on defense. And then offensively, we started to get it untracked a little bit in the second half, and then just didn't convert on a couple situations, which was disappointing. You're never going to win all the games, if you're in the game long enough. So I think dealing with adverse circumstances is critical, and it's one thing that I try to pay attention to with my staff, who's pretty darn young, but at the same time they've been in coaching for a long time. But with a team, with a goal-oriented team, it's difficult to deal with failure, or to be able to look failure right in the square in the eyes and have a healthy, sound, clear-minded approach. So again, I don't think we did that against Western, and that was disappointing. We had a huge win against Montana Tech, and I thought they were a very, very good football team. Evidently, they're going to be, I think both those teams will be great again this year. But again, I think it showed the character of our team, and that we believe that we could win, and they probably feel terrible that they lost, of course, or let it slip away. But Andy Peters had a fabulous game. Our quarterback had a fabulous game. I thought our offensive coordinator did a great job. We had a great offensive plan, and we did just enough on defense to get it to overtime, and then we were able to score in overtime. Again, we got them on the run, which happens sometimes, and that was very pleasing. So we scored right away and scored a 2-point conversion. Then we walked it off with an interception by Deshaun Swafford, who is a key guy coming back for us. So that was a huge win, maybe one of the best we've ever had, because we needed it. It was overtime, great home crowd, and it kept us in the hunt and kind of allowed us to reset a little bit. And so that was very, very pleasing. So then we had some good wins. I thought we're playing pretty well, but as happens to all football teams, there's injuries. So that's another goal for this year, is to be a little bit better with not just having depth, but preparing our depth. I think that's something that's number one on my priority list. And so I'm challenging the coaches on that. And we just have to be better because we lost some key guys last year. Then we just didn't. It didn't allow us to still do what we wanted to do, and it didn't allow us to. And certainly you have to go by what your personnel is. So you always play to your players' strengths, but still, just in our base stuff, we have to be able to execute in certain ways, and we just weren't able to do that in certain critical situations. And then Carroll, who's another tough matchup for us, a tough, very tough team. Again, I thought we played well in spots, but I thought they surprised us a little bit. So I was very disappointed with us. Not so much offensively because we played hard, we had good plans, but in terms of what Western and Carroll and even Eastern Oregon later in the year, what they did to us on defense, they just kind of made it more than uncomfortable. They kind of surprised us a little bit, and we just could not get untracked and do the things that we're used to doing on offense. So Carroll again was similar that way. Andy Peters, our quarterback, took a serious beating, and that's what you want to do against a good quarterback. And no quarterback on earth is as good when he gets knocked down a bit. So that was clearly their plan, and hats off to them. I think again Andy finally got knocked out, so that was Caden Young's first chance to come in, and he led us down the field, and then threw a right down to the 1 yard line, threw an interception, or it's a one score game. But that was again, I like our team, I like our fight, I like all those things. We just have a few things to clean up. End of the season, got to Eastern Oregon. Again, we were very thin. I don't think our depth played as well as we needed it to, and the way we're preparing for this year. Eastern Oregon is the closest team geographically to us, so they are the natural rival, and they played great. We had a hard time stopping their quarterback, running the ball, believe it or not, and then they did some great things on defense, and yet we were driving at the end of the game to win the game, and thought there was a terrible call by a ref, but that happens, and then a fumble late in the game, deep in their territory. So, but what we learned was Caden Young, who will be our starter this year, so I can announce that for sure. Okay. We like our depth at quarterback, but Caden Young's an elite competitor. And Andy Peters was a great competitor, and I don't think we drop off one bit, believe it or not, with Caden Young in terms of the competitiveness and the way he prepares and what he adds as a leader, and what he brings to the team, and the way the team believes in him is quite extraordinary, to be honest with you. I've asked, even over the last couple of years, you ask our strength and conditioning coach Taylor Bateman, who does a great job. You ask our offense coordinator Brian Taylor. You ask maybe a good cross section of the Yotes football team, and I think they would, if asked who's the leader of the team, they would say Caden Young, and that's not always a easy thing for a backup quarterback to do. He's a leader in the weight room. He's just well respected, the way he carries himself, the way he prepares. And so when Andy went out a couple times last year, we didn't miss a beat. No one thought, oh boy, Andy's out, our All-American guy. And we love Andy. Gosh, and I'd love to have him back. And I think he'll do great things at St. Thomas in Minnesota in his last year of college eligibility, which seems like it's spanned about 12 years for Andy. But Caden came in against Southern, as you mentioned. I think Southern was maybe one of, if not the most talented team in the league last year. And it was, again, I suppose you could say we had nothing to lose, but every game matters. That's what we believe at College of Idaho. Every game's a great opportunity, and there's nothing quite like college football. And so to have them at home on senior day, and we had a great group of seniors, and then to play really, really well on both sides of the ball, it was a great game. And again, not from Southern's perspective probably, but just the way we showed up and played, and the senior leadership. Not only was it senior day, it was the full display of our senior leadership, which again makes me feel good as the head coach that guys believe in it, and guys want to be leaders and make an impact. And a guy like Willie Nelson, who we talked about last year at this time, goes out on such a high note in that game, played a great game. Caden Young, we didn't throw for the most yards we've ever thrown for, but he ran for 4 touchdowns, and I thought we really were able to keep Southern Oregon, a very, very good defensive team, off balance, and that was a big win. So that, again, very satisfying for yours truly, just to be able to get the team ready for a game that seems meaningless, maybe on the outside, but as I've said before, Joey, no game is meaningless. Every game matters. It's the greatest game on earth, and I think the Frontier Conference is one of the great conferences in the country, and I'm proud to be involved and with these guys. And it was a great win, and I think. If there's anything I've learned in my 10 years as a head coach, or 11 or whatever it is it is hard to win, and it's very satisfying to win at the same time. So we're excited. We're great to finish the year off that way, and I think we had a lot of guys get a lot of great experience, and we're very excited about the 2025 season.
Wow, what a recap, and I recall many of those games, but to get your perspective on it is very nice. Last year we talked, you shared about culture, and I again thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave a number of Bill Walsh quotes, which for those who may not be familiar with Bill Walsh, please look him up, because you need to be familiar with him and the wisdom that he brought to the table too. But you talked about culture preceding championships, and that was something that was important in the experience that these young men have gotten from last year, and many of them coming back. Do you see that as a part of what then has been instilled in them, and that they can instill in others too, now that they've been a part of the program?
I think so, and I still believe in that with all my heart, that culture does precede championships. However, culture doesn't guarantee championships, and culture is it's kind of a moving target. It means different things to different people, and what I mean by it is, are guys embracing their responsibility as leaders and emerging leaders on the team, and again, there's a certain dynamic there, and so and I would say that the guys that have stepped up as the leaders are a very, very impressive group, and they get it. They know how important it is, maybe as much as any other group that I've ever been associated with in all my years in coaching. So I like where we are culturally, and it's exciting, and while good culture doesn't guarantee championships, I think it gives you a chance. It gives you a chance to progress. We're interested in getting better. I also believe that every year is a brand new team. So because you were a leader last year, had a good year last year, it doesn't translate from one season to another. And really the losses don't either. I mean, everybody has to. I've read a little bit about Kurt Signetti at the University of Indiana, and have been intrigued by many of the things he says. And he talks about quite eloquently about the necessity to face failure, and I thought that's what we were able to do a little bit after each of those critical losses that we had last year. And the reason you have to face failure is that I'm not talking about losing games every week. Believe me, we're talking about how are we going to win games, not how are we not going to lose. But you have to be willing to face failure because the other side of the coin of facing failure in a straight up way is that you're afraid to fail, which is the worst of all things, the fear of failure. Because when does that come up? That comes up right at the most critical moments in a football game, right at the most critical moments of life. And so that's what I'm excited about. I took a lot of great encouragement from Coach Signetti and admire what he did at a number of different stops, from Division II to 1AA to then last year making it to the playoffs. But there's lots of great coaches out there, and so I like to pick up a couple of little sound bites from people, and people do great stuff out there. So with that, we just want to be so darn competitive, and we want to be excited about the each and every game. Each and every game not only matters, but it's a rare opportunity, to play college football. So we'll be excited. Last year we opened with a couple of games that were great, relatively new programs, and they maybe didn't test us like we needed to be tested. This year we're reconstructing our off season a little bit, just so we're a little bit more tested before we begin the season. And we start with Eastern Oregon, who I have a great deal of respect for, and they got us last year late in the season, and it was a tough loss. So again, it's that failure can be valuable sometimes, to fuel you to reevaluate and make necessary changes, and again, as long as it's not making you tighten up and be nervous and all those things, we're really excited about the season. That's one thing great about all of athletics is not just the proverbial. There's always the next season, where everyone's at least hasn't lost yet, and you're thinking championship and all that. But what we're excited about is just the newness of the season, a new group, new guys with new opportunities, and so that's exciting, and be able to put it together. We have some great young players, and probably have maybe a few more transfers than we've typically have, but we're probably got the least transfers in the league, maybe in the country, and that's just not what we believe in. But the ones we did get, it's important that they understand the culture, and that they're coming into, and that they buy into it. And that's what we do in the recruiting process. So recruiting's obviously changed. Maybe you want to talk about that a little bit. But in terms of culture, it all works together, from recruiting to preparation to games, wins and losses, the way you handle wins and losses. And so again, I just say I like our team. I like what we've shown so far. Enjoyed the spring, enjoyed the summer so far, and it's thank God for football. Thank God for college football. So we're excited to get started again.
I agree with that. I can definitely say amen to that. That's without question. Okay, well, Coach, I don't know if we did get to break news here on Midwest Sportsnet. So you mentioned Caden Young, and that he will be the starter. So I don't know how much or little that is a secret, but we're talking about it now, as he did get to spend time. I mean, he took care of business in that final game of the season last year, so he steps into a starter's role this year. I'd love to hear about the offense, and that's a good place to start.
Yeah, so Caden is as I mentioned, an elite competitor. I think he can clearly run the ball. In that Southern Oregon game, he ran for 4 touchdowns and, I don't know, 130 yards or something like that. So it wasn't, it wasn't like up and down the fields, 80-yard runs and stuff. So he really has a high level of understanding of what we're trying to do in the run game, and he's a problem. He's for defenses. He's 6'3" and wiry and strong, and he's tough to tackle. But I think the most impressive thing about him throughout last year, we worked hard with him on his throwing mechanics. And then this spring, he made a real jump, and he knows he wants to be an all-around quarterback. So he's made as good as strides, maybe much strides as let me get my language right here. He's made as much improvement as any thrower I've ever seen in my career through the spring and the early part of the summer. I mean, so mechanically, he's working hard. Again, our quarterback coach, offensive coordinator Brian Taylor's done a great job with him. And again, that's who we want in our program. That's part of the culture is, are you interested in being great and putting the work in and the disciplined work in and dealing with your weaknesses and also accentuating your strengths. So again, he's leading the way in that regard, and I don't think it goes unnoticed amongst even one guy on the team. Maybe that's what's so important about having a quarterback that you can look to. And again, let me be clear: we are bummed that Andy Peters isn't going to be back for his last year of eligibility. But we are excited, beyond excited, for Caden Young, and again, he's. The team believes in him. I think we got a good group of receivers coming back. I think we got a offensive line that's going to be at very least a little bit stronger than last year's. We have to be able to run the ball better. That's part of, and that's talking about running the ball with from the running back position, not just the quarterback running the ball. But we are. We know we have to do those things. I think we have a good group of tight ends, so we like our group. I think it's still emerging in terms of how we're going to be effective, how we're going to attack. But I believe in a very, I'll throw out another name for you, Joey, Tom Landry, who said you ought to throw as many long bombs as you do bubble screens, and the intermediate pass game. So I believe in that. I think we have to run the ball better to make the other parts of our game as effective as they can be. So that's kind of where we are. We really, really like what we've seen so far in the spring as well as the summer.
Coach, let me say really quickly on a side personal note that dropping a Tom Landry reference one time helped me get a coaching job. So that is a true story. We're visiting now with another great coach, Coach Mike Moroski, here on Midwest Sportsnet, and I encourage you, please take the time to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We enjoy talking about small college sports and more throughout the Midwest and beyond. On defense, Coach, you've already mentioned Deshaun Swafford from the secondary. He is among those players who is coming back. Matthew Iwumisu on the defensive line, too. I know I got two different sides of the defense there, but I'll let you talk about what we may see in 25.
Well, what we want to do on defense is be a bit more sound and a bit more ball hawking and a bit more free on defense. I think that people have figured out a little bit how to scheme us up a little bit and give us trouble, and we've made great adjustments over the year. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where we were, again, I'll just say Montana Western, who's a great rival in the conference, who I have the utmost respect for. And it seems like we play them twice every year, and so we know each other very well. So it just kind of goes back and forth. But one thing you don't want to do when you're on defense is to be tentative in any way. And so I thought we were at times last year. Some of that was because of the young players. Some of that was because of the injuries. But so we've worked hard in the offseason on that. We love our base defense, and that's not going to change. But we just want to, and I wouldn't say it's simplified. I would just say it's clarified. I think that's where what myself and the staff, we spend a lot of time. How can we be better teachers? In fact, we did access Coach Walsh. He has some interesting stuff on teaching, and he was known as the genius and the professor, and we don't. I'm not a genius. I'm not a professor. There's only one Bill Walsh, and there's a lot of great coaches out there. But the bottom line is, I felt like I just don't believe that you blame the players. I think it always comes back to the coaches. I think it's. My parents were lifetime public educators, and I believe that. And even an old coaching colleague of mine would tease me and say, "Hey, Mike, there's no such thing as a bad student." And I think early in my career, I would kind of scoff at that and say, "Well, you haven't seen so and so yet," and we've all had experiences like that, but. I actually believe that. I actually believe there's no such thing as a bad student. Of the guys that we recruit, they're all capable, very, very smart. And you can talk about the modern age, the millennial age, and guys don't play street football anymore. Well, back in my day, we didn't play stickball like my dad did in the streets of Brooklyn. So it's always changing. Society's always changing. I think we got great young guys. I think they're plenty capable. I think they're very, very intelligent. They want to be very good. I'm sure they're excited about EA, college football, and all that stuff. So it's always a great time to be a college football coach, in my opinion. And I frankly don't know how the guys at the Division I level do it with the NIL and transfer portal and all that, but it all trickles down to us too, and it's all about adapting and all that. So you hear that word a lot, but what that means to me is I just have to be a better teacher. I have to be more relatable. I have to be more articulate, more clarifying, more able to get it across to all these different guys with different learning styles and all those things. So that's what I believe in, and if you're a coach, that's what we all believe in. And so it's always, how can we be better at the instruction part of the game? Because it's a glorious thing to put a football team together and a game plan together and see it all come together. You got to get 11 guys on the same page, working together against a dynamic opponent, and there's no greater challenge, there's no greater satisfaction. And so anyway, we tried to own up to that a little bit as a staff, and I was pleased with the staff and the way we are approaching things. And so we're excited on all three phases of the game. But back to the defense, we really like our group. We have a couple of not brand new guys that were in the program last year. So another young man from Hawaii, Elton Saule Sue, who had a great spring. Matt Iwamizu is one of our defensive ends. We think we have a couple of guys that can be very effective at that position. We think we have 3 defensive tackles who can be all league caliber guys. Eli Makita was a true freshman last year that played a good bit at linebacker. We think he's going to have a very good year. And then in the secondary, we've just added a couple transfers. One young man, Mason Pretty from College of Redwoods, is we're still trying to figure out exactly where we're going to play him, but we like what he's done throughout the spring. And get a couple guys back from injuries, Tanner Steele being one critical guy. And really, I know we talked about him last year, but Chase Brown, I think, is one of the best safeties in the country. And and he'll be back. So those are our featured guys. And the reason I put it like that, Joey, is I think we have, maybe we're strong as we ever have been in the secondary. I think our linebackers are going to be the surprise group. We just like what we've seen in terms of the development there. In fact, I think we've taught them better, and we have them in a better position to be successful. That's part of teaching, by the way, is setting your guys up for success.
Yeah.
And then the defensive line, again, I think that we know what we want to do. We like our group of guys, and we think we have a couple of returners, well, a number of returners and some good depth, and then a couple of newcomers that we think will really help.
Coach, you mentioned it. I would like to hear just your opinion about recruiting then, since you did mention that, and I know that you have said that you're a firm believer in developing players, so that there may not be as many transfers on your team as there might be anywhere else in the country, would seem to track. So your take on recruiting and what you were talking about earlier.
Well, I think the transfer portal is here to stay, I think. NIL is who knows what's going to happen with that. I mean, there's no rules, there's no anything. I think Andy Peters, we've talked about, he went to St. Thomas that's a Division I non-scholarship program. But my understanding is there was some NIL money involved, so to help defray some of the costs. So it's not get-rich money at the lower levels, but it still makes a difference. It's still Division I football. St. Thomas is in a great conference with University of San Diego and Drake. I think Drake University, made the playoffs last year, and have a new coach that we coached against
Yes.
From Grandview, who you know well, I think. And so congratulations to Drake, and I think they'll be fine. But it's just so all that to say it all trickles down. So the young guys grow up wanting to play Division I football. There's no question about that. I did. Everybody does. And so there's various reasons why you come to NAIA, and one of those reasons is it's really good football. And and there's a chance we can give athletic scholarships, and we can do a lot of great things, and there's some great academic institutions at the NAIA level. And so I love what we're doing, and a number of the schools in the conference and around the country are doing great things. But recruiting has changed in this sense that because the transfer portal kind of eliminates some schools from recruiting in the old school way, for lack of a better term. They don't go to all the schools. They don't know all the coaches. They don't talk to coaches. They aren't looking at high schools. When I was at UC Davis for all those years, we only recruited the state of California. Now, a big state, but we just covered the state. We couldn't even scholarship a kid from outside of the state. So we learned the state of California very well. We knew many coaches, and they knew us. And so that is the old school of recruiting, which I think is still very, very helpful with some modifications. So we still believe we want people to know us. I still believe in stability. Some people would call it great. I think it's a mixed bag where coaches kind of just don't stay in one place that long. One place you do find that is at the lower levels, where there's great coaches, and we have a relationship with Linfield College and Joe Smith and their great program, and we try to share experience and learn from each other. But coaches are moving. In fact, my good friend Chris Peterson, who was at Boise State for a lot of years, would say, yeah, it's coaches that cause the problem. The big salaries for coaches, and they're making more money than anybody else on campus. And the football program's bringing in millions of dollars. Of course, players are going to want a piece of the pie. Everybody wants a piece of the pie. So that's my view of NIL. I don't think there's anything immoral about it. It's just impossible to understand, and we do not have NIL money. So for anybody listening out there who cares, the College of Idaho does not have NIL money. But we still have a great product. We got great education. We do a lot of great things. So what does the NIL do? Well, you mix that with the transfer portal, with the dreams of young men, and now there's a holding pattern. The schools aren't going to the high schools. I have a great friend who coaches at St. Mary's High School in Stockton, California, Tony Franks, great coach. We played together and coached together at UC Davis. And he says, Mike, there are maybe 5%, well, maybe 3 coaches I've seen when I used to see 100 college coaches come through. Now he sees 3. Now they got a great program. They got Division I guys every year. So that's a big difference. Yeah. That's a 97% change. And so what that does is all those kids at Tony Franks' high school in St. Mary's High School in Stockton, California, they're all waiting around. What's going to happen? Do I consider going to JC? Do I wait for an offer? They said I'm on their list. So what happened to us this year is signing day was first Wednesday in February, the second signing day. And we signed a number of kids, but we've been recruiting all spring. I'd say finally maybe we've probably signed our last guy, and it's July. So wow. It just kept on going. So it's just lengthened the recruiting year, which is okay. I mean, we got some of our best guys late in the cycle, but it's just, so that's one thing. It just lengthened our time in recruiting, and we had to just fit in our development, as I said, our scheme development, our teaching, our evaluation of ourselves, self-scout, all that kind of stuff that you're usually doing in February, just got spread out into late February, March, and all that sort of thing. So, but does that bother me? No. It's the new world, so which we live. So I think the hardest part is that I've already mentioned is the way it affects young guys, and I think that there still is. And again, this is where the small college coaches do such a great job. What we have to sell is we have a great 4-year experience. And what I mean by that is we are going to change your life. Your life is going to change at the College of Idaho. You're going to get the greatest education, maybe as good as anything in the whole country. And the way we do football, we're going to either turn you into a leader or you're in the wrong place. So we're looking for guys that want to be leaders, want to do great things, and so we're excited about that. And I'm just not sure you can do that at 4 different institutions, in your college career. So
exactly. So
I think that Division I has a tough sell. Now, what makes it an easier sell is when they got money. But I still think that leaves a lot of room. I think that leaves, I frankly see it as a great opportunity for schools like the College of Idaho, which I would stack up against anybody academically and anybody in terms of experience. Our proximity to Boise, Idaho is great. We've got great internships. Guys are going to be successful, but guys that want to do it all, can do it here, and they can make a great impact. I mean, back to Caden Young for a second. He is a known guy. He went to high school in the area at Emmett High School. People have known him since he was in high school. He'll be after this year, next year, he will have been at least most of 3 years starting quarterback, and he's going to be a known guy. He's going to be more known than Boise State's quarterback. Actually, they got a guy that's hanging around there. So I got nothing bad to say about Boise State. They do a fantastic job. And Coach Danielson there believes what I believe. He believes in culture, and he believes in doing it right, and they're trying to hang on to their guys. So, again, I certain Division I schools are going to not do anything different, and they obviously need to find some NIL money. But back to College of Idaho, we have a lot to offer, and I think young guys do see that. So we had, I would say, our best recruiting class that we've ever had. It took us a lot longer, but we had a great recruiting class. So and we lost 3 guys in the transfer portal, which, as you know, doesn't exist at the NAIA level, but effectively, it's everybody's in the portal all the time. So there's always people swooping in. So if we're doing a good job and guys are having a great experience, we're going to lose a couple that get great opportunities, but most of our guys are excited about what College of Idaho is going to do in 2025. So it affected our calendar of recruiting. It affected some of our timing. It maybe affected certain guys. 3 guys signed, like I said, at Division I schools. But other than that, we're pretty much proceeding the same way we always have.
Coach, I don't think that there's anyone that we get to know any better here on this channel and getting to know you. But I would be remiss if I didn't ask you the question that I've asked all the other coaches this summer, and in getting to know coaches a little better on a personal note. What's your favorite 80s song or 80s band?
Well, thanks for prepping me on that, by the way. I am kind of a big music guy, and more now than ever. But you'd remember the famous band Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and
yes.
So they're going to be right up there. But really, it's one guy that's been my guy, and that's Neil Young of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. So the big disappointment in the last few years was last year had tickets. He had and he's still playing with these old guys. Neil Young and Crazy Horse is the name of the band, and these guys are like 80 years old, So I think one of them keeled over in St. Louis, Missouri, so they canceled the tour.
Wow.
So anyway, I was just listening to there's a concert version on TV, the Live Rust tour of Neil Young, of which my wife and I, before we were married, took in at the Cow Palace in San Francisco in 1978, which was kind of a cool deal. So you got rockers like Powderfinger and Like a Hurricane, and you got great little. Neil Young can rock out with any guitar players in the modern world, or he can sit up there with an acoustic guitar and a harmonica and entertain a crowd of 20,000 people with some great songs. So if you're a music fan, the Live Rust concert is pretty good on Netflix.
Okay, I'll have to look for that. I didn't know that was there, but I will look for that. And I do recall him when I started listening, though, and really started to understand it. He'd already gone off on his own, and it was just Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Right.
When I first got the name of that band, and then I researched back a little bit and found out, there's a little bit more there to it when they began, and he's very talented. All right, well, we've learned a little more there. Let's learn about the schedule just a bit, Coach, because the Frontier Conference, it's a new frontier. Without any question about that, you get the season open, and actually, you get the first of 2. Still get Eastern Oregon twice, but you open the season with Eastern Oregon there at home. At Rocky Mountain after that, lots of other Frontier Conference games, and your first game in the Frontier West, a divisional game. You get to go to Simpson. It's a bit of a trip to California, not as much of a trip as some of the other schools are going to be making this year, because y'all are geographically kind of right there in the middle. But that's 25, and wow, what a new look the Frontier Conference is.
Yeah, so the schedule makers were kind to us, at least these first couple of years. So it's we don't play anybody that we haven't played before, so we don't play anybody out any of those newer schools in the East that were added to the conference. Somehow, I don't know how the divisions got divvied up, but I think the West Division is a little bit stronger than the East Division. So I think it was Montana Tech who were the schedule makers, and they set themselves
They
up
wound
for
up
good.
in the East.
So I hope they're listening. But actually, I'm just teasing. So probably they and Carroll, because I think Carroll's going to go over there at some point too. But no, to me, it's great. Bring in these East. I've only seen, of all those teams, I've only seen Dickinson State, and have a lot of respect for their coaches and what they've done. They've been a playoff team, and they've done some great stuff. So I'll look forward to watching those other schools on film. But I'm teasing about the Montana Tech,
Right.
but because we still get to play them. I mean, we basically got to beat the same schools. We got to beat Tech, we got to beat Carroll, we got to beat Western, we got to beat Southern, got to beat Eastern, got to beat, it's the same guys. Simpson, I think, is going to be better. I love their coach. I love what they're doing, and I think they'll do a great job. And Arizona Christian, I think, is on the way. I think they're an up and coming team, and I thought they were markedly better last year. Again, have a lot of respect for their coach. They're getting their feel for the Frontier Conference, so I think they'll be great. But the teams to beat are clearly Montana Western and Carroll and Tech. Eastern is they just got Coach Camp as an experienced guy, and he's gonna figure out how to do it. And shoot, Southern might be the best team of them all. So just like they were last year. So it's great fun for us, and even as we rewatch some of those games this time of year, it's a great competitive conference, and I think it fires up our coaches and our players, and so we're really excited about the season.
Well, we are too here at Midwest Sportsnet, and it's less than 7 weeks away now. So we're excited about that as of this recording, and almost can't get here quickly enough. But I'm so thankful once again for your perspective, Coach Mike Moroski with the College of Idaho Yotes, right here on Midwest Sportsnet. We even got to maybe break a little news. Who knows? But that's all right. I appreciate the perspective and the time, sir. It's a privilege to get to visit with you.
Okay, Joey, thanks so much. And great job by you guys. You guys do a fantastic job.